Hi, this is Kenny at the reporting for Kenya News. Getting an interview for Life for Mr. Gecorman. So, Mr. Gecorman,
Yeah, hi.
how's your what's important of your philosophy of teaching in Spain, and it's like to be a teacher?
Okay. I've been here at Aptos High for 37 years. I've taught a lot of different subjects. I taught social studies when I first came here. I taught health. I taught math. And now I'm the science teacher for biology and life sciences and department chair. What was interesting for me about teaching are a couple of things. One is I really enjoy kids. If you don't like kids, what goes on in a classroom and takes your energy away, you really won't stay in the profession. So I have a good time most of the times. I also like that in this career you can get better and better because you start over each year, but you also even start to think about how you taught yesterday and what you can do again and how you can make that better. So for me, it's different every year. I don't feel like it's the same old thing year after year. Some folks I know who are in other industries get really tired of that I'm doing the same thing again, living for my vacation. For me, I'm happy when school starts. I'm happy when it gets out too. But it's a fun profession that way. You can really grow in it as well. And that's good because in a life you want to keep growing. You don't want to just be stagnant and old and stale. So this job is just as fun to me as it ever was. In some ways it's more fun. It takes a lot of energy to be a teacher. So I'm one of those folks who really is not thinking about retirement, even though I could. I really enjoy I enjoy the kids. I enjoy the mental stimulation. So, and I have a good time. I hope my students do too. That'll reference later when we talk about some of the playful learning questions.
Cool. Do you teach what's important to you, or is it your?
That's a good question. The state has directions as to what should be taught in biology, life science, but that doesn't stop you from having your own spin on it, from saying why it's important. And there's certain things I just have to cover, so to speak. But the things I really enjoy teaching are going to be things that I think are interesting and important that make your life different. As even a kid, I don't think my students are going to become biologists necessarily. Some will, but most will not. But I think all of us can have a appreciation for how amazing nature is, and science gives you a different way of thinking about the world and looking for cause and effect, and just the amazingness of that nature has so many incredible things going on. So for biology, we get to really look at current issues, medicine, ecology, political issues that are involved in that. So my old social studies background comes into effect. So I would say I feel that what I'm teaching almost every day has some importance. There's days that feel less important to the students and me. But overall, I like what I'm trying to share with the kids. I think it can change their lives.
Do you think the playful learning is out of the schools already, or is it still in there?
I think it's, every teacher has their own style. So I'm working with 3 other biology teachers. We design our lessons together. We design our tests together. And still, all of us have a different way of delivering that and a different way of interacting. So as a teacher, what I've really learned is you have to pay attention to what your kids are feeling in the classroom. If they're sitting there bored and you're yakking away, nobody's learning. So for me, I really like interactive, high energy class things. And I find a sense of playfulness and humor really helps keep the positive attitude. It makes kids open to that something could happen, so they're not just sitting there being predictable, like he's going to talk about this, this, and this. It's sort of like a joke will happen or a question will be follow-up. It keeps their brains a lot more engaged, I hope. So I think it's very much a part of teaching. And of course now with like computer simulations and the technology we have to do either simulations or games, etc., really allows kids to push themselves at their own speed. And also I find students really love things like Jeopardy reviews or competitions from one class to the other. Competitive energy is a really good resource for energy in the classroom. So playful learning uses a lot of that.
Do you think the staff or the parents support you?
One of the interesting things about teaching in a school for 37 years is I've taught their parents. So not only do they support me, I know them. So it's fun. It's really neat to see the next generation of kids. Literally, I'm teaching students whose parents were here. So at back to school nights, I see the parents, a big hug and how we doing, and we all look at how we've gotten older, and you guys still look young. It's amazing. So Yeah, in general, I have a good reputation with kids and their families and their parents. And in general, I find parents have been really helpful. They all care about the kids. So we're looking to find a way to have everybody win, everybody do well. No teacher wants a kid to do poorly. So we're trying to find new ways to reach them. What can we do to help them? You know, what does it take? And so that's what keeps the job alive, is finding new ways to help kids do well. But also, it also keeps the parents very involved. They know we care. If you have to let kids know you care. It can't be like hidden. You really need to be effusive in your caring. You let kids know that they're important to you, that how they're doing is important. You won't know everything about their lives, but you'll know a lot about, you know, their energy today. The kid will seem a little bit down. What's going on? So kind of come over and say hello. Be glad to see you. I've always felt that personal interaction with kids is how you build some of the buy-in to what you're teaching, whatever you're teaching.
Have you ever had those days when you're like really stressed out, and do you show it like outside?
Sure, you know, I'm a human being, so you know, you can have lots of stress. You've been tired, you know, whatever. There's a lot of aspects of this job that really eat into your life, you know, which is okay. But I spend a big piece of every weekend and many evenings grading papers and designing lessons. Well, if I didn't like what I'm doing, that would just be resentful, right? In a classroom, I try to keep a positive attitude, but I try not to fake it. If some kid is being rude, I'm going to say they're being rude. I don't get freaked out about it. I don't go, I hate you, you're being rude. I'll just say, hey, you know, you're being rude. Let's own this, instead of just smile it off or teach over it. You need to sort of call people and respect them too. I mean, so it goes both ways. Of course, this job has good and bad days. Every job does. And it's important as a teacher, though, for us to be even-keeled as far as, I don't want to come into a class and take some bad news or bad attitude from home, something went bad. That's not my kid's problem. So as a professional, I need to come here and give it my best shot every day to make sure that kids feel that I'm going to be predictable in terms of that I'll be caring, I'll be present, I'll be their advocate, and I won't take anything out on them. Even if I have a kid, for example, who I don't particularly like, you know, that happens. Teachers have kids we like and don't like. That isn't my job to like or not like them. My job is to teach them. So I have to find a way to, and I usually try extra hard, if I'm having a kid I don't really get along with, to find some way to build a bridge so that that's not in between us. Because my job is to have that kid feel good enough that they're going to learn. I may not always succeed, but that's my job. Okay? It can't be the kid coming and go, this teacher doesn't like me, I don't want to perform. You really do make personal connections, like I said earlier. And so they need to be positive as best you can. But honest answer, sure. There's students who are harder to teach or who don't try or whatever that make us teachers really frustrated. That's just part of our job.
What's the most rewarding part of teaching?
I think for me, there's two things I really love. One is I really like getting the lesson right. Oddly enough, after doing it for all these years, I change my lessons every year. Something's changed, guaranteed. Because I thought, oh, we could do a better job on that. Or we could, and I'm working with other teachers, we work together in what are called data teams. So we really talk about how come the kids understood that or didn't understand it, what would be a better way to do it. We do that before we do a test, we do it before an activity, and also we do it afterwards. So on Wednesdays, typically I meet with them, and we're talking about, hey, how to go in your class? What went well? What illustration do you use? So that's really fun because you feel like you're always getting better. So I love that. And a lifelong job, as you'll see, it's really fun to feel like you can make progress. The other thing is it's really fun to interact with young people. You guys are very entertaining. And I say that but not condescending at all. I think you have interesting insights if I take the time to really listen. You're very amusing as a group. You know, kids come up with wild ideas and questions that go all over the place. So if you can welcome that and weave it into what you're trying to teach, it doesn't become a distraction. It can become something that's actually cool. It's like, well, I didn't think of that. So I think if as a teacher, you have that sense of play we were talking about earlier, and an ability to make every kid feel like their question is important, then they're gonna participate. It's like teacher doesn't care what I have to say. So I try to get away from that, oh, there's just one right answer. If I can weave in a different point of view, that's not easy to do. Because sometimes it's like a wrong answer. It's like, well, let's think about that. Where do we go? That's really fun. It's really fun to interact with people. It feels like you're acting in some way all the time. So it's a very alive profession. I don't come here going, oh, what's going on today? I often don't even know how it'll go. I know what I'm going to teach, but how the student's going to react, I want to react to that. So this career stays very fresh. And you'll see when you talk to some older people, that's not true of every career.
Do you think school has changed?
Quite a bit, yeah. You guys are a new generation. You know, you go back into the late 90s. My high school, I graduated from 1970. The world's changed. The world's changing all the time. So you guys are much more tied into social media as a part of who you are, which is why students always want to have their cell phones handy and stuff. And that means that your sense of belonging is really tied to something that isn't just about being in the classroom that day. So it's a different interaction with me and with other people in the room, when really you might really want to be responding to that text mail or talking about what happened. The other thing I noticed is that your generation is really documents everything. You take a picture, you go somewhere, you're going to take a picture of what you did or whatever, which is cool. My generation, we just went there. You know, we just had the experience. I'm not saying it's better, it's just different. So I have to remember what happened as opposed to look at a picture of it. And you guys are very quick to just, if it's something, I wonder if it's important, click, you take the picture. Even for us, when I took pictures, it cost money because it cost film, right? So you waited a long time to see it. And all of that really made you think, I don't know if this is worth the picture. Whereas now you just click, 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 see what happens, right? We're interviewing right now, we'll see what happens, okay?
So, when you were young, did you ever thought of being a teacher?
Actually, yeah, when I was in high school, I was kind of a loudmouth kid. And so some teachers would make me teach the class as a way to get me to be focused. And of course I was like, good. So I taught chemistry in high school for 2 weeks. I had really learned the subject by teaching it. And I've also done teaching bilingually when I was in high school. So I came into teaching with a bunch of little tastes of why I liked it. And I worked with some local teachers just as a community service thing I was doing. And I was like, wow, this is fun. I think I could do this. So I actually changed my college major to line me up more for teaching. I got my master's degree in education as well. So that's something that comes with time. I definitely notice when I work with new teachers, some who want to be teachers, like a student teacher, you can see some folks are like born to teach. Whether they be a teacher or not, they're going to be teachers. Okay, maybe they're in another job, but they just have that leadership ability and they like it. And some folks, it's really a struggle. And if it's a struggle for you, doesn't mean you don't work hard to get better, but if it's really hard to do this, you shouldn't do it because it takes too much energy. You have to enjoy it. So I think that you can tell I'm a talker, so that part I got covered. You know?
Yeah. So, cool. That's all.
Well, it's very nice
Thank
talking to you. Thank you, photographer. Hope that went well for you.
Yeah, thank
Bye.
you.